Welcome to this week's episode of Be Your Greatest Asset, the wellbeing podcast for hopeful and optimistic mums in life who know that there's more to life than just the daily grind and are ready to claim it. So today I'm really pleased to welcome Kat Amey, life coach. Welcome, Kat. We're going to be talking today about why doing nothing is the best thing you can do. I'm all over this topic, very much so. So, welcome, Kat. Would you like to introduce yourself in more detail? Give us your
Yeah,
brief.
of course. Hello, I'm so pleased to join you today. So as you said, my name's Kat, and I'm a life coach. And my big goal is to help people realize that being selfish is not just okay, but it's essential for living a fulfilling life. And I really love to help people learn to create boundaries, learn what makes them feel good, and create their dream life. So I work with women through my coaching program to just help them decide this is time to take control of me, to take control of my life, to reclaim all the things that I know make me feel good and really get excited by life again.
Absolutely. Yeah, there really is so much more to life than the daily grind, isn't there? And the mundane. Yeah, we have to do the mundane. We need to work, we need to earn money, we need to do the chores, whatever. But I think sometimes we let ourselves forget, or we allow ourselves to forget that there is more to life and that we are allowed to actually have a
Have some
break, have
fun.
a rest, have some fun. Yeah, definitely. So today we're talking about doing nothing. So
Mhm.
what is the benefit of doing nothing?
Well, I know, I'm
I
sure
mean,
a
it's
lot of
very
this,
counterintuitive, isn't it?
yes. And I'm sure, first of all, when people hear the word like do nothing, it's like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, how can I do nothing? And this is very much about just creating space. So, space in your day, space in your diary, space in your life in general, just to be and come back to the person you are. Because often when we look at our diaries, it's everything is so planned out and it's just like this. And I often say to my clients, yeah, this is all, maybe some of it's great stuff. Maybe it's well-being stuff. Maybe it's stuff that you know is going to help you feel good. But where's the gaps? Where's the space?
Yeah, yeah. And it's having that space for a buffer zone as well, isn't it? Having not necessarily even just doing nothing, but knowing that you've got that buffer zone, that if something unexpected comes up, that you've got breathing space to deal with it. It's something
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking a lot with my ladies recently as well, is creating that space. I completely forgot what I was going to ask you now. This is what I mean about raw and organic, and nothing has to be perfect. Um, oh my gosh, I've gone off completely on a tangent now, and I
No
completely don't
problem
know
at
what.
all. I think your buffer idea is a very valid point because things happen, especially in the UK. We love a traffic jam, right? So we
Yeah,
might have scheduled X amount of time to get the kids to school and then to get to work on time. And if we've literally left not even a minute spare, and if something happens, then that's when all that stress comes. That's when that
yeah,
overwhelm comes. That's when that anxiety comes. And all of a sudden, we've started the day not feeling great. But if we just allowed ourselves a little bit more time, a little bit more space in our diary, then if those things happen, we're a bit more relaxed about them.
yeah. We got the time to actually deal with them, and yeah. I mean, there's always going to be something that goes wrong in your day, anyway, isn't there? Like it's inevitable. Something always
Yeah.
goes wrong. Like I don't know, your kid leaves a homework book at home, and you have to go back and collect it for them, or they're in the wrong school shoes, which these are very real examples. And so you have to go and collect those, or your kid's sick and you have to go and collect them from school, or you get stuck in that traffic jam. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And one of the key things I did as I've kind of got into this mindset of self-discovery and mindset growth was to actually write in my diary, keep free. And that was a non-negotiable boundary for me and my husband to actually say, right, okay, we get to choose what we want to do today. So we either choose to go on a family day, or we choose to, well, we were doing house renovations when this started. So we choose to go to the DIY store and choose the new bathroom or whatever it was. Or we do do the chores or whatever, but we know that we've got that space in the diary.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you say there about it's very much about how you feel. And I actually just finished with a client session just before this, and her kind of goal was to look at her morning routines and effectively make them feel easier, make them feel something that she was actually excited to go to bed for the night before,
Yes.
because she felt like her mornings were not something that she wanted to was excited about to get up for. And one thing that she's realized now is that starting the morning in a more relaxing way is helps her to feel more relaxed throughout the day. But
Yeah.
what she's starting to build now is almost this toolbox of things that she knows on some mornings she's got to wake up and she's got a list of jobs to do. She's got to be sat at the desk at a certain time to go into some important meeting. So now she's looking at the morning activities and she's like, okay, I've created this space, but actually I need to do something that's going to energize me. So I'm going to bring that energy in.
Yeah.
And that very much what you just said, it's like, it's allowing yourself to be a bit more free and flexible with it,
Yeah.
rather than, but I said I was going to go to the gym today and that's what I'm going to do, even though I'm exhausted and I've got 20 million other things. It's very much more about allowing ourselves to just have that time, be like, what do I want to do today? Like, how do I want to feel? And how is that going to impact my day?
Yeah, how am I feeling now? Yeah, it's so important to check in with how you're feeling regularly, but especially in the morning.
Mm,
And
yes.
waking up feeling ready to face the day and like it's a whole new blank canvas of opportunity. That's a really powerful place to be in. And I mean, I used to be a mum who would wake up in the morning and go, "Oh my God, how the heck am I going to get through the day?" Like, seriously, like I'm jam packed, and I've got again I started like to pull back on, okay, I'm only going to go and visit one friend today with the baby, or
Mm,
I'm only going to basically it was one plan a day. That was my thing, and if I did more, it's because I wanted to, not because I felt I had to. And even putting you mentioned about having your calendar jam packed, and it could be with fun things, but when it starts to feel like a chore, like I am going to go to the gym, I said I was going to go out for a drink with so and so, it suddenly feels not so fun. Even though you
no.
know that it's going to be fun when you get
Mm,
there, but it feels
mhm.
like such an effort.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yes,
And
it's
I
really
think this is where sort of like the boundary settings can really come in, because
mm,
it's so easy to say yes to everything. And we might be saying yes, like you said, to all these fun things. And we can look at our diary and be like, oh, but it's all fun. How can I say no? But this is when the importance of boundary setting really comes in, because asking ourselves of like, okay, if I put this all together, I'm doing all these things, how is that going to make me feel? And maybe just doing them as individual things, you could be like, okay, that's fun, that's fun, that's fun, or that's necessary.
yeah.
But when you look at it as a whole package in terms of like a week or a day, actually, is this going to be good for me? And sometimes we have to say no to some things, even if they're going to be fun.
Definitely. And it's even like the chores, for example, like breaking down the chores into manageable bits. Like the washing is a
Mm,
prime example. Mum's huge, great big overflowing washing baskets. Okay, so putting the washing in the machine and hanging it up is one job. And then
mhm.
actually folding the washing up is another job. And then actually having it in the washing basket and putting it away, that can be another job. But I used to think that it all had to be done all at once. It's like, right, washing machine, hang up, fold it, put it away. It was just one, thing. And it's just chunking things down, isn't it? That can also really help you feel more accomplished, and more rested and relaxed and
Definitely.
less stressed about your days. So,
Mm,
so you mentioned about morning routines and
hmm.
toolboxes. I've
Yeah.
mentioned that I used to be a mum who I'm not anymore, by the way, because I have done lots of self-growth, self-development work as well, and now supporting my mums with it. But you mentioned, I mentioned waking up feeling, well, just in dread of the day ahead, really.
Yeah.
Let's talk about morning routines and
Mhm.
what we can do to help ourselves, and to create that space and that nothingness first thing in
Mhm.
the morning.
Absolutely. So I caveat here, I don't have kids. So maybe some of the things I say will, depending on the age of your kids, I know it'll be very different, but a few of my best friends have kids and also a few of my clients have kids. So this is very much comes from find what works for you first and foremost, because I think one of the biggest things that we get into is, okay, it needs to look like this, or my friend does this, or so and so does this, and look how great they look from it, or I've listened to this podcast and they suggest I do this. Let's just scrap all of that. I think, and this is, you mentioned the word toolbox there, this is what I love to work with my clients, of essentially thinking, okay, today I literally have 10 minutes because I've got to get kids off to school, I've got to make all their packed lunch, then I've got to get off to work myself, got the hand washing out, and their job list is endless. So what can I do in 10 minutes? So it's managing expectations when it comes to your morning routine and really finding something that is going to fit those little gaps of space that you've allocated. And the reason that I focus a lot, and why I'm such a big advocate for like starting things in the morning, is because it really does affect how the rest of the day goes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've all done that, whether it's related to the kids or whether it's related to work or whatever else. We haven't slept well, we've woken up, maybe we've just like grabbed coffee and like something that isn't going to set us up for the day. And like, as much as I love croissants, like I get a sugar crash after about 10 minutes. So they're not the best thing to sustain me. And we maybe didn't sleep very well. And we're constantly in that sort of stressed, overwhelmed. Maybe we've looked at our emails first thing in the morning. Chances are that then that feeling and that way, that pace of like this constant, like trying to catch up, that's just going to carry on throughout the rest of the day. Whereas I can visibly see the differences of when we start the day a little bit more mindfully, we start it a little bit slower. The first thing we don't do is reach for our phones and start checking who's emailed us or who's liked or like made a comment on our post. We stay here, we stay up in our thoughts. And in the morning, this tends to be a little quieter. So it's not as maybe erratic as it is when the day starts and when we're halfway through the day, certainly in the evening when you've got a whole day that you're thinking about. So I'd say to people, like, if you're thinking about, okay, where can I add space? If you can, try and add space into the mornings.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, one thing for your toolbox is literally just maybe setting your alarm for 5 minutes earlier and waking up that more slowly. You don't even necessarily have to get out of bed and do anything. You don't have to get out and do any journaling or yoga practice or anything. It can just be as simple as having that little bit of extra space to gather your thoughts, isn't it? And sort of just not like from horizontal to like vertical, walking walking to running kind of thing, and not to 60 miles an hour. It's just having a bit of a slower pace to the day. So
absolutely. And I think one thing that I actually have started doing this week, and it was something I used to do and then I stopped doing it, but it's just reminded me, as you said, that about starting your day just 5 minutes earlier. So when my alarm goes off, which I don't actually have my phone in my bedroom, I have it outside my bedroom, so it literally is, I have to get out of bed to like quieten this thing. And so I get out of bed and I turn it off, and sometimes I used to be like, oh, I'm just going to snooze, I'll go back in bed, which sounds silly because I'm already out of bed. But what I've started doing now is I have my yoga mat right by my where I keep my phone, so I do actually press snooze and then I get onto my yoga mat. And sometimes I'm not doing any yoga, I'm literally just maybe lay down, maybe sat down. But it's like you said, it's that slow start to the day. It's not I'm going back to sleep, it's not I'm turning my phone on, but it's just, okay, like I'm giving myself 9 minutes, 8.5 minutes by the time I get on the mat to just sit there and wake up a little bit more slowly. I'm certainly not, right, let's go for a run, let's woo. It's like,
yeah.
I think often we think that a morning person is that person who gets up and is like party in the morning and like super hectic and but actually a morning person can be whatever you want to be. And personally, I like it to be nice and slow and gentle.
Yeah. But I think that applies to life in general. Life can be whatever you want it, whoever you are, based on your own individual circumstances. And when you mentioned a little bit earlier in this conversation about us looking at different, people, like comparing ourselves to friends and this and that, but we can never ever compare to other people. So like what works for your best mate might not work for you. It might not work for your, I don't know, your financial circumstances, your time commitments, your
Mm.
whatever it is in life. We just can't compare ourselves. And I think that's a key thing actually, to realize that when you start practicing nothingness and beingness and just isness, it helps you realize that you're okay in your lane. You're
Mm-hmm.
you just stay in your lane and you're doing great just as you are. And that nothingness can be really, really powerful at reinforcing and helping you accept where you are in your life, in your days, and that nothing needs fixing or anything like that. And
Yeah.
then that nothingness can also then give you new ideas for where you might want to be, or where you want to set new boundaries or change or whatever.
Definitely. I kind of see as like the nothing as having a bit of a like a declutter. And I mean
Yeah,
like declutter in like every sense of whether it's stuff, like physical stuff, whether it's friends, whether it's things in your diary, whether it's like chores, whatever it is, conversations that you're having, family commitments, everything, just having a just gentle declutter of everything. And then that will ultimately then leave this space.
yeah,
And like you said, that's when the magic happens. That's when you can start tuning in of, okay, I think I'm good actually. Like I
yeah.
feel good today. Yeah, I can do this. But if we're constantly stimulated by all the outside world and all these like cluttered thoughts, I feel like it can be really difficult to actually take that time to truly like tune in with yourself and be like, what is actually going on with me? Like, what do I need? Like, how am I feeling?
And I think this is a very common theme through all my conversations with my podcast guests and with my
Yeah.
clients and with all the mums in my world, and to be honest, lots of people in my world, is that
Mm,
like we don't tune in, we don't give ourselves time to tune in with our needs, because we are constantly living on autopilot for that next thing, that next thing, that next thing. Like, I got to be here, I got to do
yes.
that, I got to be this. um
Mm,
and actually spending that time to do nothing can just help you tune in with what you need, can't it? It's
absolutely. Yeah.
um, yeah.
Hmm.
You've said, we've mentioned morning routines. When else, well, is that the best time to create space, would you say, in your opinion?
Personally, yes. I feel like because when we wake up, we're in that much more relaxed state. Our brains aren't fully engaged to the outside world. And chances are you've been asleep, so you haven't been scrolling through social media or listening to the radio in the background when you're sleeping with all the awful news that's coming through. So our minds are very much our own. They're not, we haven't allowed ourselves to be opened up to the outside world. So that is my like my kind of top tip in terms of where to create space. But as we've like said throughout, like everyone is different, so it is really experiment. That's what I always say to my client: just see this as an experiment, try something and then see how you feel. But the most important thing is to afterwards to actually check in and see how you feel,
Yeah,
because often we're like, yeah, I did yoga and it felt really good, and then I'll say to some of my clients like, in what way did it feel good? And I'll be like, oh, I don't really know. So it's giving yourself that space, that reflection time
yeah,
to see if it works.
yeah,
Evenings, of course, especially if you've got young kids, maybe the mornings are you wake up and then your diary is not, or your schedule is not your own. So if you can find some downtime in the evening as well, then that can also be super powerful. And especially if you struggle to switch off the thoughts at night, I think just giving yourself a little bit of space in the evening can just help you with that wind down as well.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's just important to see what works for you. And one of the key, well, I'm very much about 2-minute mindful self-care practices. That's
Mm,
my kind of like unique selling point, if you like. And it's very much about plugging in a little bit, like little and often when you can around your schedule. But one of the things I love to share is just put a timer on for 2 minutes and sit and do nothing, or even 1 minute. see how it feels. It might feel, but to most people it feels really awkward. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got the washing up I need to do, or I need to empty the dishwasher, or whatever. But when you've got that timer on, you know then that you're not going to overrun, that you know you've got that trust that that time is sacred, and you've got that boundary around it, if you like.
Mm.
And then just play with that. Like, life is an experiment, and you might find that 2 minutes is too long. Try 1 minute, and then you might decide to start increasing it, and just sitting in stillness. And
Mm.
that's a really powerful one.
Mm.
um
Yeah, definitely. I think if we can stay curious when it comes to this, because especially if seasons change as well, like,
yeah,
you know, I'll say if I will start working with a client during winter and they'll be like, oh, but the mornings are so hard. Like, oh, I'm finding really challenging to do this or do this. And then as you start to ease into spring, it slightly changes. So I always say to her, just stay curious, keep
yeah,
experimenting, and don't expect anything to ever get to that magic answer that is like, oh wow, this has worked now, because chances are everything will constantly shift and change.
it does. It changes, the only constant, isn't it, in life? And I think we humans are the only thing the only thing, like, living entity on the planet that actually has forgotten that. And you've mentioned
Mhm.
seasons, and we look to nature, for example, and in winter nature does nothing. Is dead,
Yeah.
like resting, regenerating. And then it's spring, where she slowly starts to, you
Mhm.
know, blossom and bloom again. And then summer, it's like, whoo, full sprint. And then autumn, it's starting to shed again. And I think when we can start to look at the seasons as well as our guide, and nature as our guide, I think that's very, very powerful way of looking at it as well. Like, I don't believe that we are meant to be like running on full steam ahead during the winter. We're supposed to be slowing down. You know, the birds, they puff up their feathers, and the animals put on weight to keep warm through the
Mhm.
winter. Well, we're animals too, you know.
Yeah.
So when you've put
Yeah.
on a bit of, you know, you want to eat stodgy food in the winter, and you put on a bit of weight for it, it's because it's winter.
Mm.
And we, you know, natural evolution, that we're supposed to be keeping warm.
Yeah, it's
um,
yeah, very true. Very powerful to remember that, I think. It's
yeah.
okay to slow down.
Definitely, definitely. It is okay to slow down and feel like you want to do nothing.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah. Wow. Have you got anything else that you want to share at the moment around nothingness and why it's so important?
Um, I think just prioritize it. That
Mm,
is definitely one thing that I would say. You know, we've spoken here about, you know, the importance of it, the importance of nothingness.
yeah.
And but it really comes, the first step is making sure you prioritize it. Like, you mentioned there that you schedule time, like spacing your time for you and your husband. And we prioritize so much stuff in life. And at the end of the day, something has got to give. And
Yeah.
if it's maybe saying no to a coffee with a friend that maybe you'd want to do, you know, maybe these things are fun things, but the most important person that we have to look after is ourselves.
Yeah.
So unless we really do prioritize that nothingness, that space, whatever you want to call it, that time to just be you, then it's not going to happen. No one's going to say, Michelle, go take some time out for yourself right now. I will take care of everything. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's the message we would all love to hear, but chances are
It's
it's
never
not
going
going to
to
come our
happen,
way
isn't it?
anytime soon.
And I'm a big one for saying never say never, but I really believe that that one is never going to
That's
happen.
yeah, yeah. Unless
um,
someone wants something, you know, I'll do this for you if you do that. So,
yeah, but
but
then,
yeah,
yeah, but that, it all
there's
comes
still something.
down to our worth, doesn't it? And, you know,
Absolutely.
being able to give ourselves that permission and
Mm,
validate ourselves and what we need, want, desire in life.
mm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
nothingness, oh, I just believe it is such a powerful
Mm,
way to achieve what you actually really want in life, and to feel, to reclaim that equilibrium in life, that
mm,
balance, homeostasis and harmony in the home with
mm.
your family.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
your, and the kids, they follow, kids and partners follow as well. Mums lead by example.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, that was a very interesting conversation. I know that you've got a workbook for our listeners. So would you like to share what it is and how they can get their hands on it?
Yeah, of course. So as we've spoken quite a lot about morning routines today, and very much about morning mindset. So I have a free workbook that your listeners can download. And that's really to, first of all, gain awareness of what you're doing in your mornings. Because often when I say to my clients, well, how do you spend your mornings? They're like, oh, I don't know, I just, get up, get ready and go to work. I'm like, yes, but there are some minutes and some
What
seconds
do
and
you do
some
exactly?
like, what are you exactly doing? And chances are like, oh, a bit of social media, a bit of this, or like, so it's understanding, getting that awareness, first of all, about where your mornings are. And then understanding really, well, okay, if I was to design a morning that would make me maybe feel a little bit more energetic, a bit more nourished, a bit more calming, what would that look like? So mapping out what exactly that looks like, and then just helping you to take action in a really simple and easy way. So we'll pop the link to download in the show notes, and then
Yeah,
they can download it from there. So
perfect. Well, I think even if you've already got some kind of morning routine, I think it's still really good to revisit this kind of thing.
Mhm.
I might download it myself. Is it all good
Perfect.
to like prioritize and get crystal clear on what you're actually doing? Because we all we all get carried away sometimes, but get distracted. It's very easy to get distracted, especially when it's like, Mom, can you help me with this?
Mhm.
Or Mom, I need this. Or like, where are your socks? Have you fed the fish? And then so it's just getting really crystal clear on what it is you are actually doing in the morning, and
Definitely. And
helping you set those.
very much focusing on the feeling as well, about what's the feeling you want to create in the morning, which
Yeah.
is sometimes more powerful than the actual action itself.
Yeah, and creating those boundaries to make it happen, which
Yes.
always need tightening up, no matter what phase you're in your
Mhm.
self-development journey. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, yeah, I'll pop the link in the show notes. And I was wondering if you have any last words of wisdom for our listeners.
So I guess something that I sort of, I guess, live by and try to constantly keep in my thoughts is about how can I make this easy? And when it comes to whether it's creating space, whether it's creating a morning routine, whether it's relationships, whatever it is, any part of your life, we should have that sense of ease around it. If anything feels like super choking and challenging, well, might be a little chance to just reflect on whether it's the right thing for you, whether it's an opportunity or a person or an action doing thing. So how can it be easy?
That's beautiful. I love that. And I would agree with this because I'm a very big thinker, overanalyze things, overcomplicate things. And I think if I'm honest, I think most people are.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that's partly because we've been, we've grown up to believe that things, work hard, play hard, you have to work hard to earn money and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Um, and what I've realized is that the less complicated it is, the easier it is, the better the results you get. um,
yeah,
it's because you're not pushing yourself all the time, and you're actually listening to your body. It's again another brilliant example of why we need the nothingness.
Mhm.
um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I definitely
Mhm.
agree with that final nugget of wisdom there. Thanks, Kat, for sharing.
My pleasure.
Oh, it's been really, really great to talk to you today. I'll put Kat's contact details in the show notes as well. And thank you very much for listening, everybody. Thank you, Kat. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.